Hello there, kia ora. Yesterday and today mark what could be the most significant 24 hours in news media for this country that we've seen in a generation and likely to see for another generation. It's quite impressive, to be honest. There are four big things that have happened or are going to happen that are going to shape things for our news media and what it means for us as audiences, as people who get our information from the news, and even from the way that news itself is produced. You see, today, NewsHub finds out what its final fate is. In mid-February, they announced that NewsHub was probably going to close as a cost-cutting measure for Warner Brothers Discovery, who felt that they were just pouring good money after bad into something that wasn't particularly profitable. But in that time, a couple of groups within NewsHub have been working really hard to come up with proposals for a slimmed-back version of what they do at the moment. And there's even been some confidential talks behind the scenes with other news organizations about sharing resources and finding ways to keep things going. All of this means, though, a really slimmed back version of what NewsHub is doing right now. And so, no matter what the outcome is, NewsHub is likely to be further reduced in their capacity to do what it is that they do. At the same time, though, or yesterday, there were three other announcements that made waves when it comes to media. The first is that TVNZ has decided to go ahead with its cuts and loss of about 68 staff. These cuts include losing shows like Fair Go and Sunday, which are some of their highest rated TV shows, as well as things like Midday News. It gets rid of a number of people who work on re-news, as well as making sure that there aren't enough people out there to produce the kind of content levels that they're producing at the moment. And that is really problematic for the same reason that losing NewsHub is. It's a diminished capability to get important news stories out and to ensure that people are kept informed with what's going on. But of course, there's always a group of people out there who don't want to be informed properly. They're crazy cooker conspiracy theorists who love things like reality check radio. That up until yesterday was broadcasting just fine. But yesterday they announced that they're going off the air and that you've got to pay to bring them back in what will probably become known as Griftathon 2024. You see, reality check radio has this really weird thing going on where it tells people it has nearly 500,000 listeners, according to Rodney Hyde in their farewell video. But internet traffic doesn't really agree with that. In fact, you can find this kind of data online which shows that they're really poorly rated. And if you even look at something like how many people follow them on X/Twitter or Facebook, those numbers certainly don't match up. There's also the problem that, well, just last month they spent literally tens of thousands of dollars on full-page adverts to drive traffic to them and their website to get people to inform the COVID Inquiry Commission the way that they wanted it to be informed. So they've had the money and suddenly it's just run out and you don't get to see anything at all until you pay them for it. That sounds like a grift to pretty much everybody. They're not even making archival material still available. And right up until yesterday, everything seemed to be running absolutely fine. Smell a bit of a rat. But this is an audience who won't listen to somebody like Sean Plunkett because he's too woke. So the kind of people that are going to be out there which aren't getting information from anywhere local in any shape, way or form is suddenly going to increase. And they're already a group that have really large problems with critical thinking and interpretation of news media. So that could be something to watch out for in the future if Reality Check Radio decide they don't want to come back or they want to keep on grifting people really hard till they lose the 3 or 4 people that are listening to their show on a regular basis. The fourth thing that happened yesterday, see, big day, was actually a Broadcasting Standards Authority warning that was issued against Kate Hawkesby. Last year, Kate Hawkesby actually went on air and started talking about the way that medical lists were prioritised for surgeries in our hospitals. And she was very specific in pointing out Pacifica and Māori people were apparently being pushed to the top of the list and kicking other people off, and it wasn't about need, it was about race. And that was something the BSA turned around and said, that's BS, eh? You know what we're talking about. What you said was completely wrong, it was misleading, and it was designed to stir up racial prejudice and misharmony amongst people. And that's how the BSA found this. Now, this is not a common thing for the BSA to do. They generally try and err on the side of caution. So it was a pretty blatant attempt from Kate Hawkesby to do this for her to get stung. But this was also a talking point that came up a lot during the election. Right-wing, particularly candidates who are involved around like medical procedures like Dr. Shane Reti, for example, they were really big on pointing out that this was something that they saw as wrong. They used the talking points that were raised in that show and they found something that was basically targeted specifically to make racist people pissed off to try and go out there and get more votes. The ramifications from that are absolutely huge, but it's a year later and now she's getting a slap on the wrist and a very small fine. But this means that hopefully in the future, News Talk will start thinking a little bit more before it starts putting content out. Like yesterday, when Heather Duplessis-Allen put out a video like this, where she pointed out that apparently everything that's wrong with media and why people aren't trusting it, according to that JMAD research we talked about yesterday, was because of just how left-wing and woke media has gotten these days. And apparently nothing at all to do with the people that she works side by side with who are deliberately going out there and sowing racial disharmony. So as I said, really, really busy day when it comes to media and what that means for our future. Audiences are going to change because our media is changing what it's doing, and it's doing that because of money, essentially, for all of it. And that's a real problem. But that's also not going to get better anytime soon. So I guess we just kind of have to either deal with the changes or come up with new ways to find new media out there that does the same job or something fairly similar.